Hi everyone, Shika here with NarcDojo, where we talk about pathological narcissism, spirituality, personal development, and raising your awareness. If you appreciate the content, please give us a like, share, and subscribe. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's video. I created the NarcDojo channel to bridge a gap between what you may call scientific information that comes from the clinicians, so psychologists and psychotherapists, and I'm going to connect that to the metaphysical. And what is metaphysical? Then metaphysical is what is alongside the physical, or what is along with the physical. It is important to understand that anything that you see in the physical realm came from the non-physical realm. Anything that you see in the material came from the immaterial world. So anything that appears in the physical comes from the non-physical. For example, if you're seeing this pen on your screen, then I use my mind to think about putting this pen on the screen. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how I came into my understanding of narcissism. Can you do a video about your personal experience with narcs? How did you gain so much knowledge about them? So, if you're watching this video, then you most likely received your awakening through narcissistic abuse. If not via narcissistic abuse, then it could be something like a near-death experience or something like severe grief. If you are watching this video, then you most likely went through what we could call a traumatic event. And this traumatic event served as your initiation, because it provided the immense pressure needed to push you into ascension, to push you to reconnect with your spirit. When it comes to awakenings for me, then the awakening via narcissistic abuse was one of the major ones, but I have had multiple little awakenings over time. So I could always tell that some people were a little bit off, but I did not necessarily have the language to describe it. And for a really good while, I would describe people as species, because they weren't really human-like, if that makes sense. So we're all people, but there are some different species to these human beings. And this was confirmed when I saw an entity manifest from the people that you may call narcopaths. It's the people that border on narcissism and what clinicians are calling antisocial personality disorder, or what you may commonly call sociopathy or psychopathy. So a narcopath is a narcissistic sociopath or a sociopathic narcissist. At the end of the narcissistic entanglement that I was in, and I stay away from really calling these relationships because you really are in a relationship of one. However, at the end, and this is normally when they like to show themselves. So some people see the black eyes that look like this thing here. Other people will tell you that they've seen the reptilian eyes, like this one. For me, what I encountered was the entity itself. So it manifested itself as an inhumanly tall male entity. And when this entity manifested itself, spirit, or what you may call intuition or your gut instinct, told me that Satan himself was looking at me. And it was the most inhumane, palpable, dark, mean, negative, hateful energy that you could imagine. It was inhuman because, again, it was an inhumanly tall entity. And after this entity popped up, then it jumped back inside of the person. And I could tell that the entity was what I was interacting with from day zero. So what I talk about here on the channel is my experience. And when I say that the entity went back inside of her, well, it went back into her to control her. I could tell that she was not listening to her right mind. She was listening to the evil spirit. So if you think about this like the proverbial devil or angel on one's shoulder, then she was in direct communication with this entity. This entity was the thing that is controlling her. Additionally, I could tell that she was a lost soul, and her age was about the age of 5 years old. And if you're wondering then how I could tell all of this, is it's kind of hard to describe knowing, or what you may call claircognizant, but you can tell. It's like you feel what it is or what it is not. So when I say that narcissists are lost souls, that is exactly who they are. I was introduced to the term narcissism, I want to say maybe 2 years ago. However, before that, I had a pretty good grasp on what consciousness was. And consciousness essentially is understanding that you're a spirit in a human body, or a spirit operating a human body with access to different tools, which are your mind power, your willpower, and your emotions. And when I encountered this entity, I knew that it was an evil spirit. And I know that the person, the human, did not have control of their mind, and they haven't had control of their mind for a long time. And additionally, they themselves did not have an energy signature. They felt like a void. So, like if somebody comes around, you should feel their energy. She did not have an energy. So you're dealing with lost souls, or I may call this people that are in another dimension. After your spiritual awakening, and even before, but it probably ramps up afterwards, is you most likely are receiving a lot of downloads. And 2 of the main downloads that I share here on this channel are, number 1, everything is energy. So you hear me talk about energy often. Number 2 is they are already dead. I'm talking about most of the people on this planet. Most people do not have a connection to their spirit. And number 3 is they want your soul. The entity that I saw manifest from this person has actually been after me for, I want to say, most of my life. And what it wants is your soul, or what it wanted was my soul. So some of my knowledge, comes from books that I've read. However, a good bit of it is knowing, your inner knowing, your innate knowledge of how things operate. The clinical information, the stuff that you find in the DSM, that's stuff that I read afterwards, which was pretty easy to understand because clinicians really look at the world backwards. So they look at things in the physical realm and then they assign that to the psyche or the area of the soul. However, when you understand spirit, or if you understand consciousness, then you understand that you create from the non-physical to the physical. However, clinicians study the world from the physical to the non-physical. So while it is not inaccurate, it is incomplete. Pathological narcissists are people that have accepted an evil spirit. And whether this evil spirit manifests itself through the eyes, the black eyes, or the reptilian eyes, or maybe you saw them shapeshift, maybe you saw the entity, etc. That is actually what you are dealing with, and that is what you have been dealing with in the entire relationship. The Hawkins scale that you see me use often on this channel, I encountered that after my awakening, and that came through spirit telling me that everything is about energy. So it's like I already knew the scale, I just had to find it. Narcissists don't just target anyone. A lot of the people that they are targeting are gifted individuals. So whether you have the gift of knowing, you have the gift of sight or insight, maybe you have the gift of feeling, etc. It wants your soul, and it does not want you to awaken. It wants to feed on your energy because it is a black hole. And what do black holes do? They feed on light. And who's the light? You are the light. You are the light force. You are the light source. You are spirit. and it essentially operates like an energy vampire. And this vampire wants to feed on you because that is how they thrive on this planet or in this dimension or in this reality. And when it comes to the dysfunctional family stuff, then, understanding who a scapegoat is and who a lost child and golden child are and so on. For me, I was an only child. And I could see as early as kindergarten that something was just off about people, whether it's the people in my family or again, just people overall, where I would call them just different species of human beings. So as an only child, sometimes I was a scapegoat, sometimes I was the lost child, other times, I guess maybe you're treated okay. But overall, you just understand the dysfunction because you grew up in dysfunction. If you appreciate the content, please give us a like, share, and subscribe.